This is Johnny Dosco. Stay tuned for another Score Sheet podcast. Holy Kadelka!
Hello, and welcome to another Score Sheet podcast. It's the middle of May, and I thought it was a good time for a couple reminders and maybe touch a little bit on the season, which is now about a quarter of the way through. First thing is, if you're in a league that follows our normal in-season draft schedule, the first draft is, or the second draft I mean, begins Monday morning, May 21st. Would be rounds 38 and 39 for the normal leagues. The next draft will be in June. That'll be the fourth week of June. That's the draft that is held after the Major League's June amateur draft. So if you're in a continuing league where you keep players from year to year, and so you want to keep some prospects, those are the draft picks you'll be able to use to pick up some of the players that are top picks in Major League Baseball's June amateur draft, rounds 40 and 41. So if somebody approaches you about trading for one of your round 40 picks and you're in a continuing league, it might occur to you that that might be the top pick in the amateur draft and thus might be worth quite a bit. Speaking of drafts, we do have a series of how-to videos for those of you that maybe you're new to Score Sheet or want a refresher course. There's a page called How-To Videos on our website. We've got some videos on filling out the lineup card, doing the web draft, a couple other subjects. So you can give those a look if you want. About this time of the year, I like to remind everybody that even though it seems like it was just yesterday we were putting our teams together, the season is really no longer young. So at some point, you have to decide whether some of your players are going to be like Adam Dunn was last year, where they just never break out at all, or whether some of your guys are showing signs of life, or maybe there's some players on other teams you want to trade for. Now, obviously, if you have Pujols, I don't think even at this point you're going to decide he's another Adam Dunn and just cut him or trade him for a bag of baseballs. But if you've got Pujols, you got to hope he turns it around. I always kind of get a chuckle when I read these articles about, gee, maybe you should trade for Pujols, somebody will sell him cheap. I don't know anybody that's really willing to give up on Pujols that has him on their team. Though, certainly you can get him a lot cheaper now probably than you could have 6 weeks ago, but I don't think anyone that owns Pujols is just going to give him to you for a backup catcher. He is killing teams, though, there's no doubt about it. He's so bad you'd be better off if he had just broken his leg, because your backup first baseman certainly would have been hitting better than 190 so far this year. On the other hand, we all know that feeling of you finally bench a guy because you're tired of watching him struggle, and that's the week he hits 8 home runs. So I'm sure nobody's really benching Pujols. I have noticed a lot of people are dropping him in the lineup. I saw one lineup where he was batting 8th, and that's kind of understandable. I think that's the next step before benching a guy like that, is you drop him in the order. Then on the flip side, to just prove that this is a game where predicting how players do can be kind of tough, guys that nobody had great expectations for this year, such as Adam Dunn or Jake Peavy, are just tearing it up. Adam Dunn has an OPS over 1,000. Peavy is pitching great, though with him there's always that injury concern. But it does go to show that no matter how much research you do or how much you have faith in players, they do have to play the games. Though, once again, like I said, even though they've actually got 150 at-bats, I think there are some people you have to stick with, Pujols, some of those guys like that. But, you know, if you've got a hole on your team, don't just hang on forever saying, oh, it's early in the season. A quarter of the way through the season, if you're still struggling with a first baseman who's not producing or an outfielder that's really doing nothing, you know, make a trade before you get too far back. It doesn't really matter how far back you are now. There's still 20 weeks left of the season, but you don't want to get too far back, wake up and have only be 12 weeks of the season left. Plus, making trades is fun. It's really hard to have a trade negotiation with someone that's not at least kind of fun. I personally prefer the phone, though obviously most people do email by now. But don't fall in that trap of saying, oh, everybody will turn it around. We're a quarter of the way through the season, so make a move if you need to. I think by now we all know the lineup card deadlines are Thursday each week. Same for the trade deadline. You need to send in any trades or lineups you want to take effect for the upcoming week before the start of the first Major League game each Thursday. Maybe Wednesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, start some trade talks. Or what my brother likes to do, partner Dave, he likes to initiate trade talks on the weekend, figuring that gives him 3 days to finalize the trade before the Thursday deadline. Another thing some people that are really experienced Score Sheet owners like to do this time of year is target some of the relief pitchers that have had great starts to the year. Seems like every year there's a bunch of relievers that start out the year well, and even though they may not be very heralded, they just carry that performance all year long. And at the end of the year, you look down and here's somebody that got drafted in round 29 in March that's got a 2.8 ERA and 70 innings. So you might start targeting some of those guys. I think, like I said, many experienced score sheet owners, especially if you have extra starting pitching to trade away, they make deals where they'll trade away their 4th or 5th or 6th starter. They'll pick up 2 relievers who each pitch less innings but have much better ERAs. And those guys really come in handy all summer long, and also in the playoffs. It's really nice to have a guy that has a 2.1 ERA, since the playoffs do use a mixed, well, they use the whole season stats with September weighted a little heavier. So take a look at your league roster, make some moves, maybe get to know the other guys in your league, and stir it up a little bit. Hope you're all having a great time this season. Oh, and the last thing is we do still have a few orphaned National League Continuing League teams. You could pick one up here in the next few days and you'd have it in time for this upcoming draft. They're $29 for the rest of the 2012 season. So have a great week. Best of luck to your team. Thanks for listening.